noteworthy project, and you all should be really, really proud to be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Jaynie Welsh, and I am a graduating senior in microbiology and physiology, and this is my honors capstone project. I am so excited to present to you Transdisciplinary Knowledge Creation is Anything But Rubbish, connecting microbial, middle school, university, city, and business communities in an effort to remediate an old Wyoming landfill. And I am even more excited to introduce to you a few more key players from the massive team that collaboratively made this project what it is.
My name is Rachel Watson, and I wear a lot of different hats at the University of Wyoming. I primarily direct the Learning Actively Mentoring program. It's one of the signature programs in the Science Initiative. And I additionally teach microbiology, biochemistry. I'm now a member of the chemistry department. I also coach the cross-country ski team and have for well over 2 decades. So there are many ways in which my life comes together in a synergy of teaching and learning.
So to introduce myself, I'm Colton Clark, and I was in the Capstone class that started on the Riverton landfill project.
Hi, I'm Nana Rexroth-Frazier. I typically just go by Nana Frazier.
Hi, I'm Ella DeWolf, and I am a master's student in the botany department here at UW. My main connection to the Riverton landfill project was through Rachel's microbiology capstone class. I actually took the class, and my group, we were looking at microbial communities in natural wine fermentation, and we relied heavily on DNA sequencing to identify the microbes present in the wine we were looking at. When several of the capstone students this year involved in the landfill project wanted to use some similar sequencing methods for their projects, Rachel asked me to come in and help out and talk with them about some of my troubleshooting and also help them out with some of the analysis. So I came on as a learning coach.
My name is Mr. Al Mallah. I'm a 7th grade language arts teacher at the Riverton Middle School.
This is Noah Hull, the microbiology program manager at the Wyoming Public Health Laboratory in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and he was a learning coach on this project. And this is Steve Molt, the project manager and CEO for Inberg Miller Engineers and Sand Creek Consultants, the company retained by the city of Riverton to study remediation alternatives for the old Riverton landfill.
It began on July 30th when I had given a set of scholarships to a number of educators to attend an annual conference hosted in collaboration with the Wyoming Department of Education. On the very first day, we had a half-day workshop, and those who had received a LAMP scholarship to come to this event gathered, and we spent half a day just immersing in the wonders of problem-based learning and growth mindset. And I asked the 7 educators to think about ways in which they might implement problem-based learning in their own teaching. And the 3 educators from Riverton, that was Nana, Tasha, and Alma, who were there at that particular event, they immediately started brainstorming about the local problem that they were experiencing with respect to the landfill. They told me a little bit about it, and they brainstormed ideas for how they could design problem-based learning. And by the next morning, they had already contacted city officials and were dreaming the details of what this collaboration would look like and how they could bring their 7th graders in as authentic stakeholders in solving the problem. By the end of the next month, August, I was already driving to Riverton with 2 graduate students ready to kick off the project. We were ready to immerse in a magnificent and formative conversation with city officials, with Inberg Miller Engineers, and with the 7th graders, with the 7th grade teachers. The 7th graders became familiarized with the ideas around phytoremediation, around bioremediation. So they started forming these hypotheses around the notion that forms of life can degrade pollutants and toxins, and that the bacteria in the roots of plants form this rhizosphere barrier that can enable the uptake of toxins, help enable the uptake of toxins into plants where they can be safely stored and then safely removed from a site. So they started to get this notion of about phytoremediation and to form their own hypotheses, which were magnificent. They really worked hard to create testable hypotheses. And of course, at that time, a little shortly thereafter, my capstone students came together and I told them about what we were doing in Riverton, and you can't blame them. They thought this is exactly the project that we want to come together around, and they began thinking about not only generating hypotheses to address the possibility of remediation, but also to really get down and dirty with the microbiology at the site.
So there are two pretty distinct parts of this project, with the first part being last semester, the fall semester, where we focused a lot on the laboratory part of this, and then the second part, which is this semester and what I'm choosing to focus on through this project, and that is the impact of the collaborative project and how it elevated our research through the lens of participatory action research. So in the lab portion of this project, the data was spurred from preliminary data provided by Miller engineers that there were elevated levels of iron, manganese, and cadmium in the groundwater surrounding the Riverton landfill number 1 site. So the 7th graders were also investigating phytoremediation and came up with their own hypotheses, while my capstone class was investigating kind of the impact of heavy metals on antimicrobial resistance and microbial population diversity. So both parties came up with incredibly impactful results, and my capstone class developed posters that were then presented to the University of Wyoming and Riverton communities back in December. The 7th graders will continue to present their research at some Riverton community events and to their city council. And although we both came up with really great results, fortunately, that was not the end of this story. So participatory action research, or PAR, is described as an approach to exploring the process by which participants engage in collaborative, action-based projects that reflect their knowledge and mobilize their desires. PAR is described as research with catalytic energy that moves things forward and impacts change. So from the start, this collaboration was driven by the teachers at Riverton Junior High, and they wanted to make an impactful change in their community while providing a meaningful experience beyond the standard education to their students. So in PAR, we are all participants and we are all researchers at the same time. And this project would not have worked without every party that was involved. So this was shown physically by the memorandum of understanding that was signed by all of the parties participating in this research in order to move our project forward, and also by the culmination of what you will see in this video. To capture the results of our participatory action research, I have asked our collaborators to record their answers to a set of questions that we all came up with together.
So what has changed since we began the landfill collaboration? I would say I was a little scared to take on a place-based learning and taking the kids outside the classroom and not having a plan before I started on what this would exactly look like. What were the final outcomes going to be? I've been teaching for quite a few years, but it's very different when you're just in your classroom setting and you have your standards you have to teach and you have your lessons built around those. And it's totally different when you look at a problem within the community and look at who's all involved with it, who can be a participant in addressing the problem and really learning every aspect that is involved with it.
I can say that a great many things have changed. But nothing more robustly than the internal change that I have had as an educator. I have been teaching for 20 years, and I would consider this collaborative learning to be the epitome of my teaching career.
So since being a part of the landfill collaboration, I've gained confidence in my research, communication, and collaboration skills.
The biggest thing that changed for me was sort of that increase in confidence in being able to teach and to be able to code and do data analysis by myself.
I think throughout, I progressively gained more and more confidence in my ability to research, my ability to retain information. And what was really awesome about this capstone project was that I got to take everything that I learned throughout my 5 years of my undergraduate study and put them to use. And I think being able to apply that real world knowledge gave me a lot of confidence in the fact that I actually did learn this stuff.
The biggest thing that's changed for me is we're all staying at home right now. And what that means about the landfill project is just that we get to see which students really do care, which students, it's really become part of what they anticipate for this school year. And they aren't scheduled specifically for our remote learning right now, but they're reaching out to their STEM teachers and asking what else to do, and they're following up with ideas for their projects still.
Please speak about the impacts that you feel each partner had on one another. Consider telling a specific story that relates some of these impacts. I think that the 7th graders were particularly impacted by this project because it made science accessible and interesting to them. I know I've heard from a lot of people that were turned off of science because they always perceived it as something that only certain people could participate in and that it was too intimidating. And I think this project taught them that science is something that we engage in every day, whether we're aware of it or not, and that they're all capable of pursuing it.
My unique role in this project is I wasn't one of the STEM teachers. So I reached out and asked the mayor questions at the very beginning and got his agreement that we could do it. I reached out and talked to the city planner and the public relations representatives and organized those meetings and arranged for us to meet with Steve Molt from Ingberg Miller. When we first sat in the mayor's conference room at City Hall, it struck, you could see the moment where it visibly struck the administrator and the director, Steve Molt of Ingberg Miller, that the collaboration they might be able to do with the University of Wyoming was very beneficial. It was fun, it was impressive. And I think since then, I call on the mayor a few times anyway, and he just presented to my students a little while ago, but we have an association now.
When the MOU went through and we were able to go on site, oh my goodness, this is the moment that stands out for me, because here we all were, the 7th graders, all of my capstone students, me and all of the 7th grade teachers and all of the Ingberg Miller engineers were there on site. And we were all working collaboratively together. Steve, the head Ingberg Miller engineer, came up to me and said, Rachel, I cannot believe the knowledge that these 7th graders have. And it was like this profound moment of acknowledgement where the 7th graders were acknowledging the knowledge, the depth of knowledge and the work that the engineers do. And at the same time, the engineers were acknowledging the depth of knowledge and capacity for the future of those 7th graders. And oh my goodness, this is difficultly, you can see this moment was very profound for me.
In this collaboration, we were all learners and we were all teachers. What was different about this teaching and learning experience as compared to other experiences? I came on as a learning coach, so technically I was there to help out the capstone students, but I think I really ended up learning just as much as they did about it, but it's never something I've actually done on my own. And so this was actually the first time I ever got through without having to go run for help, which was really cool for me. And it really increased my confidence in being able to both do that analysis and teach teach it.
I don't think I could have anticipated the impact that this project would have on all of the parties involved. As time went along, as we got to work together more, it was easy to see how kind of widespread that impact was.
There are moments where I tried to build in to my lessons the raw, authentic feeling that we're discovering, and it's always a goal of mine to be in this moment of raw discovery with the students. You know, I've definitely had projects that were fun and engaging, but I was a step ahead of them. Like, I had worked around what they were about to discover. But in this project, I found myself next to them experiencing surprise and intrigue similarly to the students. The students were meeting reality. They were attached to nature and science and the learning one-on-one, face-to-face, without me filtering it. And I was really impressed by that.
So this class pushed me to use my knowledge that I've gained throughout my entire undergrad. But the difference with this collaboration was that I was a student and a teacher at the same time. And I was teaching things that I was learning as I was going along with the project. So it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone.
In what ways do you feel that this authentic experience provided purpose behind the learning with the middle school students?
I've had a chance to look over some of their hypotheses. There was a beautiful blend for me. There are students who came up with very unique personal discovery ideas where they had a thought that was novel. There were also a great blend of students who took some of the concepts taught to us by the professors and presenters at UW, and they used some of those key words and complicated ideas, and they came up with ideas of how to use that in a way that added to what we had learned and talked about with the professionals. And so across the board, they did a really good job of creating their own spontaneous ideas and taking what was established and fleshing it out with their own creative youthfulness.
I know that when I was in 7th grade, I would have jumped at this opportunity because I've always loved the concept of making an impactful difference. And I could tell that those 7th graders felt the exact same way. So not only were they learning, but maybe in certain instances, they didn't even realize that they were learning because they were making a difference. They were having fun. They were challenging themselves. And I think that this was just a different learning experience for them altogether because we got to tie in how they are actually impacting their community, how they impacted the UW community, and moving forward, I hope that this changes kind of their perspective of learning.
So one of the things that was great about this, and also was scary in the beginning, was just the idea of like having something that tied to that. The baseball fields, softball fields are over by where this landfill is. They're sitting right next to it. And a lot of the kids spend a lot of time there in the summer. So for them understanding why it was so important and why would the city be investing so much in this project.
What do you hope this project changes for the future for both you personally and broadly with respect to teaching and learning? Being able to do this, it really made me realize that I do have the potential to impact change in whatever career I'm in. And I want to pursue higher education administration right now. And through that, I've realized that we could completely revolutionize how we are teaching on college campuses, how participatory action research can come together to provide meaningful experiences for students at all ages and beyond, because we truly are all lifelong learners.
I think this sets an awesome example for sort of a sustained outreach collaboration, and I really hope that we can build on this in the future. I think being able to go back to the same students and build on to something is really powerful, and I hope that we can continue to do things like this and improve our outreach collaborations around the state and even farther than that.
I feel like it has changed for me already, made me let go of some of that control you kind of want to maintain in the classroom, and having, your lesson plans, and this is my objective, and it morphs so much. And if the outcome wasn't what we expected, it's okay. And I think the kids kind of saw that when it comes to adapting to what the kids are learning and the directions they take it. So it's not just about me leading everything, but this kind of made me see in a new light how much they can lead it. And then I'm following their direction and where they're going with it and what their ideas are. And it's okay to be like, I'm not sure about that. We need to look this up because I don't have a science degree. So that was fun for me too, because I like to learn and I like to share that with the kids and say, I am a lifelong learner. I don't know everything. And how exciting it is to learn new things.
I hope that I will be able to apply the things that I learned to future problem solving, not only in the context of the lab, but in everyday life. The problems and roadblocks that I encountered taught me how to navigate challenges and become flexible. I also enjoyed working with the 7th graders because it taught me that one of the best ways to have meaningful teaching is to know your students and apply their interests and backgrounds to your teaching.
I really hope this leads to a lot more collaboration with programs like this. This has been a part of education that I'm passionate about, lighting the spark in students and letting them show that their imagination is way broader and more impressive intellectually than they often are allowed to raise their hand and comment on in class. Personally, I hope to be in connection with the contacts that I've met, both locally and as a state, and I hope to be able to be part of a productive team that does this more often.
I hope this project changes for the future. For me personally, and broadly with respect to teaching and learning, oh my goodness, this is underscored by the current pandemic. We need to start thinking as scientists. We need to start asking about how we, as scientists right here in our own communities, can bring people together around solving local problems. We need to ask how we can use our science to change the lives and minds and dreams of 7th graders. We need to ask how we can use our science to bring together our community members to have real, meaningful, and authentic conversations. We need to think about how we build bridges between silos, how we build bridges between academic silos, between community silos, between 7th graders and PhD scientists. How do we build bridges that allow us to put forward meaningful and authentic solutions to real community problems?
Even though this chapter of this project has come to an end, the story of the Riverton landfill has not. Through this interview process, we have learned that every single party, the Riverton teachers and students, Inberg Miller, Noah and the Wyoming Public Health Laboratory, our learning coaches, and Rachel and her Capstone program are all interested in continuing this collaboration. And we have learned that this type of collaboration is possible, and not only is it possible, but it is widely impactful, it is important, and participatory action research truly could be the future of research and the future of changing our world.